We also have Josiah Paul from Brick City Peace Collective. Melvin Waldrop is from the Department of Administration, Chief of Staff, the Business Administrator. Josiah Paul, Brick City Peace Collective, Director of the Brick City Peace Collective. Rochelle Haynes, What Works Cities, the Managing Director, as well with us this evening. And we're going to talk little bit about What Works Cities certification that Newark received, and I guess a little bit more. So I'll introduce Rochelle first and let her say a little bit about What Works Cities, what this is, and what Newark is celebrating today.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. First and foremost, I want to say congratulations to the City of Newark on achieving What Works Cities Silver Certified certification. It is a true testament to the work that you have done to be data-driven and evidence-based in your decision-making, whether it's thinking about how to invest government dollars in your budget, whether it's thinking about your public safety approach, thinking about access to care. You have leading in a way where you are making decisions by centering data on when, where, and how you want to invest time, resources, and staffing. What Works Cities was started in 2015 by Bloomberg Philanthropies. It's led by Results for America, and it's an international standard of excellence on what it means to be good, well-managed local government. And now Newark is part of that illustrious group of cities worldwide who are leading with data and evidence-based decision-making, which is amazing. Only 72 cities in the US have been certified, and we have over 100 cities worldwide with us. And the standard is really about celebrating cities for their accomplishments and the work that they've done to center data at decision-making. What stood out to us when we were working alongside Melvin and when we were working alongside Mayor Baraka was how you really were leveraging data to make critical decisions. I think, Josiah, when we met, I probably have not met someone any more passionate about data and tackling an issue. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But the example of the work you all did with Brick City Peace Collective is exactly what we look for in What Works Cities. How are cities leveraging data, engaging stakeholders, bringing the community together to design targeted solutions to problems? And not just saying we have a blanket public safety issue. That's not what you did. You used the data to say, hey, there's 5% of the area is where we're actually seeing crime. So now let's focus on that area. And so I could talk forever about data, but I don't want to take up too much time. But I want to celebrate and shout out Newark for the work that you've done and being targeted and data-driven. And that's what Works Cities is about. It's about celebrating cities for leading with data and evidence-based practices and helping them along the way. Thank you.
Well, we want to thank Bloomberg and everybody else for the work that they've helped us continue to accomplish here. Obviously, I want to use that to segue in Melvin Waldrop and let him talk a little bit about what's been going on and just your feelings about all of this.
You're on mute, Melvin. Thank you. I think that there are three reasons from my perspective why this is so important. Number one, we've had our practices looked at in a very, very rigorous way. And it's been confirmed that we're on the right track in terms of what we're doing. And the second thing that it does for us is it establish a benchmark that we can work against in terms of moving into the future. This is the silver certification, but Bloomberg's What Works Cities also has a gold and a platinum. And I want us to be going for the gold and ultimately the platinum. And then the third reason I think this is so important is that it connects us to a very valuable resource, which is What Works Cities and many other cities that are part of that system. So it gives us an opportunity to benchmark ourselves to them, be challenged, and to learn from them. So I'm looking for that opportunity as we move forward in the future. And I can't say enough about Director Paul. I have an opportunity to be on a call with him weekly, and we always talk about his data, and he is really, really into it. And he can tell you exactly what it means. And I think that as we move forward with this, again, they kind of led the way for this, but I think that we have the opportunity to get a lot of other departments where Director Paul is in BCPC.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. And I first want to acknowledge Mayor Baraka, and ultimately, when we said data informed, that was the direction that the mayor was pushing us to be data informed. I came on as a data analysis as a part-time position, and ultimately, it's what we've been able to establish in the ecosystem. And when we say that there are other organizations like Newark Public Safety Collaborative that works along with Rutgers University Newark, and how they've been able to assist us in using data, it is not an I thing, it is a we thing in our ability to use data and ultimately implement it in a way where it's, a lot of times when we start talking about data and numbers, it becomes hard to digest for people that just don't understand the variables, but ultimately our ability to make it digestible for people is the biggest push. And that's the thing, we want to make it available and understandable for the people ultimately when they come into contact with the numbers.
And if I can, Mayor, I would say also, and just how you may want to back this up, but it can be fun. I mean, when you're looking at data and solving problems with data and bringing people together in a cooperative way to do that, it can be fun, and exciting, even though you're trying to solve problems.
Right. So can you give us some examples of what you're talking about, how you're using data to do these things? I mean, some examples.
Yes, sir. Ultimately, I think one of the easiest ways to look at it is that when we start talking about hotspot areas, like what are the top hotspot areas in Newark, and we start putting this on the map, I just want to thank again our partners, MPSC and Rutgers, for their assistance and being able to draw up those maps for us. It allows us to see what are these pocket areas in Newark that has shootings, that have any type of interactions that are happening in the city. And the big thing that it does for us is that it gives us a starting point to start at. It gives us an opportunity to go to these targeted areas. And then when we start talking about our young people that are arrested, that come in contact with law enforcement, how it works for us in Brick City Peace Collective and the Office of Violence Prevention is that those numbers, those cases go to the Office of Violence Prevention. And when it comes to Brick City Peace Collective, it's an ecosystem of organizations that we work with. So there's a referral process that allows this to go from law enforcement, OVP, BCPC networks to where it may be within the hands of one of our community organizations like PUSH. And I think that's the effectiveness of data, is that it allows us to track where this individual at in the process. And when we say on the public safety side, it becomes so much more harder because when we started off, it wasn't, we didn't have a lot of things mapped out. So we had some tremendous people in our staff. I'm definitely going to shout out Jessica Rodriguez, who has been doing an amazing work in building up. She was actually at the meeting at work at us, that you attended, and she talked about how she played a major role as a social worker, having an input on the data of the system that we were using. So I definitely want to just acknowledge the team for their work.
And I think one of the things that was also important, not only did you all use the data, so you had to make sure the data was accessible so that you can actually analyze it. You shared it with your stakeholders, brought everyone together, but you also had a dashboard, right? That you were using to monitor efforts. And that's the sort of collaboration and performance analytics that's important, and that we celebrate and recognize with What Works Cities. It's not enough just to have the data, but you disaggregated it, you analyzed it, you brought in the right stakeholders, but then you also made sure that information was being tracked and available to everyone involved in the project, because then you can start to get creative about driving change and strategies and really thinking about where should you invest your time and your resources.
And I think the uniqueness about data is that what we're ultimately saying is that we're humanizing data, that we can't look at it from a grid standpoint, because a lot of times when we see numbers, we don't see the people. We don't see the person that's behind this number. And I think that's the uniqueness of what we're pushing and how we're using data to ultimately say, when we say a homicide, one homicide is one too many. And that's a person that's been affected, and not just the person, but the family. And these things are ripple effects in our community. So when we start looking at data, it just allows us to talk about real issues that are happening. And at the same time, how can we be solution oriented? And it just allows us to see gaps and openings of a lot of times what's working well and what's not working. And those two things are the biggest points that allows us to move more effectively and at the same time support people to the best of efforts.
And I think it also, creates an opportunity for collaboration. And I remember with respect to the hotspots, they were also overlaid or correlated to heat islands that we have, here, in the city. And so that has directed Office of Sustainability in terms of where they want to plant trees. And again, we may identify there are certain other things that are lacking in those areas. And that, again, from a collaboration standpoint, bring in other departments in order to shepherd those resources into those areas in order to address, public safety.
That's excellent, excellent information. I know we on Fridays use data regularly at our meetings. So at our, at our KPI meetings that we have to talk about specific data that's going on in the city, different incidents and departments and the work that we're doing and the progress and productivity or not productivity in areas to help us double down on certain things or make sure that we focus in on certain areas at those meetings. Do you think that's helpful?
Your level 2 meetings, Mayor?
Yeah.
No, again, I think that they're extremely, helpful. I think that's one of the things that we got points for as part of this evaluation process that we went through to get the civil certification. Again, I don't know that every department, all of our departments are doing what DECIDE is doing. And so I think that we need to get from there. I think that where we are with most departments is that we have output data, and output data is good, but we need to move beyond that and start talking about, okay, this is what we've done, but how efficiently have we done that? How effectively have we done that with respect to the outcomes that we're producing, from the different departments?
I think, in Melvin, you teed up something when you're in your remarks, and this happens in our cities all the time, you get certified at one level and you're already thinking about how do I get to the next level, which is great because for us, it's not a one and done. This is a way of governing, right? This is a way of managing your city. And so one of the things that I think did stand out was how leadership, those meetings that you all have where data's at the center of the conversation, and it's done on a regular cadence. And to your point, Melvin, when you're thinking about how you want this to grow and expand throughout the city, it's taking the model of Brick City Peace Collective and building it out and blowing it out citywide, right? I think that's an area where you all can continue to think about how do we establish these practices, not just for this one particular area and focus, but throughout how we think about other priorities within the city, as well as where there's needs.
Because, Mayor, the city is data rich. It's just a matter of collecting it and using it. Yeah.
And sharing, right?
And sharing.
Even like building out your open data portal, right? So that anyone can pull up data and, they're not stopping you at the grocery store asking that question.
Yes.
You could go to a really great website and access that information. I think that's also like Newark 2.0 in this program is thinking about your open data portal.
Yeah, and I think those are two great opportunities. I think number one is sharing it with our citizens so that they know what we're doing. There's that transparency there. And then the other thing I think is important is tying it to our budget process.
Yes.
So that, and I know you did this, Mayor, with public safety in terms of determine where you're going to allocate resources. But looking at it in other departments across the city and determine how do we use data to determine where we should be shepherding our resources. And I know that you're big on budget equity, and so it can lead to that.
Yep. So any last things you guys want to add?
Well, like I said, my objective is to keep pushing for the gold, and then the platinum. We're planning in April to have a sort of a data management symposium for departments in the city, where we can bring people together and have Josiah and also Lewis over in the Office of Homeless just talk about what they're doing in terms of how they're managing data. I think that they're the next group that has really used data well here in the city, and see if we can build it out from there.
I think it's just awesome. I think we should continue to push in how we use data, and in simple words, make it make sense. And as we're bringing this data out, we're just making it very accessible to people. We're informing them to make logic decisions based on the reality of what's happening and what's not happening. And I think that's the beauty of how we've just been able to mine it, harvest it, and be able to make it just accessible to people. So thank you again.
And for me, final words again, big congratulations to all of you on the silver certification. It's amazing. We're so thrilled to have Newark be part of the community. I think my next steps is I want to continue to work alongside Melvin and the team and other city departments to help think about how do we infuse this approach? How do we help it be even more integrated within city operations and services and your approach, and to continue to support you on that journey in any way that we can. And at the end of the day, we know that leading in this way improves the resident experience of their cities, right? And improves their outcomes. And I know that's what brings all of us to this work. And so What Works Cities is here to help you on your journey. And I have no doubt you will get gold certification, no doubt, because I know Melvin is focused. I see it in his eyes.
The gold and then the platinum. So.
And then the platinum. And we're going to be right here with you to support you the whole way.
Let's go straight to platinum.
Love it. Love it.
Thank you guys for getting on. I appreciate it. We'll get back and double check all of this stuff again and get back on when we can. God bless you guys. Take care. Thanks for getting on with us.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.